Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're anything like us, your inbox is currently groaning under, well, just the sheer weight of year-end reports, big policy announcements, and all those inevitable news dumps.
It really is an information deluge.
Mm-hmm.
We're in mid-December 2025, and it feels like everything is happening at once.
And that is exactly why we are here. We've taken that huge stack of sources, the policy papers, research reports, all of it, and we've tried to distill it down.
Right, down to the key nuggets. You need to be well informed.
Our mission is simple: to be your guide through all this noise and to show you what's really driving technological change, what's challenging global regulation, and frankly, what stories are actually worth remembering. What jumped out at you as the common thread this week?
You know, what really stands out is that the debates have moved past the theoretical stage.
Right.
The sources all show this massive, sometimes chaotic shift from, early stage adoption to these integrated high-stakes battles.
High stakes is right.
Whether we're talking about control over AI infrastructure or these billion-dollar media empires, the question has gone from, will this work, to who owns the execution?
That's a perfect framing. So let's dive right in. We'll cover three core areas in this deep dive. First, the new reality of AI usage, and specifically the battle for control at, the operating system level.
And that geopolitical flip in the chip war. That was huge.
Yes. Second, we'll move into the high-stakes media and regulatory showdowns, from Australia's groundbreaking social media laws to that massive multi-billion-dollar battle for one of Hollywood's oldest empires.
And finally, we'll turn to some critical global events, including those devastating environmental crises in Southeast Asia, before wrapping up with a look at some just historic achievements in sports and culture.
Okay, let's start with AI, because the battle lines are officially moving from generating simple text to executing complex real-world tasks.
And the most aggressive move we saw this week came from ByteDance.
The owner of TikTok.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that they didn't just build a better app. They tried to integrate their AI into the physical hardware itself. They're challenging the ecosystem giants right where they live.
They launched an AI-powered smartphone prototype in China, and the core of it is this Dubao mobile assistant.
Which runs on their own Dubao large language model. This isn't just another chatbot.
No.
It's designed to be a seamless, system-level AI interface for the entire phone. That capability is the game changer.
So what does that mean in practice?
Well, think about asking your phone. Find a table for four at a nice Italian place tonight. Check my partner's schedule, and make sure we're free around 7:30.
Right, a task that would normally take, 4 or 5 different apps?
Exactly. The Dubao assistant is engineered to handle all those steps, checking calendars, reviewing social media, maybe even booking the spot across multiple apps without you having to jump between them.
The sources noted the phone immediately sold out, so the demand is clearly there. But here's where that high-stakes battle framing comes right back in. The backlash from rivals was immediate and vicious.
Oh, absolutely. Tencent, which runs WeChat, and Alibaba with Alipay. They basically control the digital lives of millions in China.
They just shut it down.
They immediately restricted Dubao's access to their applications. This is pure platform warfare.
And they were threatening the whole business model, right? By bypassing their interfaces and, stealing user traffic.
100%. Tencent and Alibaba weaponized security concerns to justify blocking access. And it forced ByteDance to temporarily disable some of the most advanced capabilities that made the phone so unique.
So even with better AI, you can't win if you don't have access to the ecosystem.
That is the biggest barrier to true integration.
That tension, between potential and reality, it runs right through the Open Router State of AI report.
Yeah, that was based on over 100 trillion tokens, a massive data set.
And there was a surprising fact in there about how people are actually using these tools.
It completely flips the script on the whole productivity narrative. Yes, AI is helping people write code and draft emails.
Right.
But the report found that creative role-playing accounts for over 50% of open-source model usage. It actually surpassed coding.
Wow. And that's mostly because the open-source models have fewer content filters, right?
Exactly. So we're optimizing spreadsheets, but we're also generating a stunning amount of fan fiction.
Yeah.
But more structurally important is what the report calls the rise of agents.
This is that shift we were just talking about.
Yes, it's the move from a text generator to a task executor. Models that can do multi-step reasoning, that can use tools to interact with other systems, they now dominate traffic.
And that leads to this really memorable concept they introduced, the Cinderella's glass slipper effect. Could you break that down?
It's such a powerful analogy. It's the idea that solving one high-value problem perfectly is more important than just being good at everything.
So being a specialist is better than being a generalist.
In this context, yes. The models that are the Cinderella are the ones that fit a specific high-stakes application, the glass slipper perfectly. They retain users far better than models that might score a little better on benchmarks, but can't nail that one critical workflow.
Specific utility trumps generalized intelligence.
Absolutely.
That makes perfect sense. And if utility is the metric, that plays right into the OpenAI State of Enterprise AI report. It showed enterprise use is getting much deeper, but also hyper-specific.
The data there is just staggering. The volume of custom complex workflows, things like specialized GPTs built for internal company use, has surged by over 300% just this year.
A 300% surge. That confirms we're well past the let's play around with it phase.
Deep into integrated production level usage. And what's interesting is that while average users see solid gains, the frontier users, the ones really integrating these custom solutions, are saving 10 or more hours a week.
So the technology is clearly generating massive value. What's holding everyone else back?
Well, that's the key finding. It's not the model performance anymore. It's organizational readiness. That's the primary constraint now.
So if I'm a CEO listening to this, what does organizational readiness practically mean?
It means adapting your processes, training your people. It's about being willing to trust an AI agent enough to hand off a multi-step task, not just use it to help draft an email.
So it's a leadership and change management challenge.
Not a computational one. Exactly.
Fascinating. So if the internal bottleneck is organizational, the external, the geopolitical one, is still physical access. And that brings us to the chip war. We saw a monumental policy reversal on December 8th.
This was a seismic shift. President Trump reversed the Biden-era export controls, approving sales of NVIDIA's high-end H200 AI chips to approved customers in China.
These are the literal building blocks of advanced AI. And this decision, it immediately sparked bipartisan congressional opposition.
Of course, given the H200's potential for military and surveillance applications. But the sources all highlighted this crucial transactional twist.
The 25% cut?
Yes. The twist is that the U.S. government will take 25% of the revenues from those sales. It's a pure profit-sharing model on a product previously deemed a national security risk.
So we're essentially moving from, we can't let them have it for security reasons, to, we'll let them have it, but we need our cuts. Isn't that deeply hypocritical?
Well, it certainly opens the administration up to that criticism. And the debate on Capitol Hill is highly charged right now. But the immediate result is clear. Money is changing the equation.
And what's Beijing's response? They didn't just rush to buy, did they?
No, they're being cautious. They held emergency meetings to assess demand, but they're already talking about capping purchases, maybe even restricting the H200's use.
To favor their domestic alternatives, like Huawei's chips.
Exactly. It's all about their long-term goal of technological self-sufficiency. So the U.S. may be willing to sell, but China might strategically limit the imports anyway.
That complexity really shows how deep this all runs now. Okay, speaking of policy, let's shift gears entirely and look at the regulatory landscape. We saw a world first coming out of Australia this week.
We did. On December 10th, Australia enacted the world's first social media minimum age law. It's a huge step.
The law mandates that platforms, and we're talking all the big ones, right? TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
All of them. Facebook, X, Snapchat. They all have to prevent anyone under 16 from holding an account.
And the regulatory burden is placed squarely on the shoulders of the tech companies. They have to implement reasonable steps for age verification.
Right, or face penalties up to $50 million.
Yeah.
But the law is immediately controversial. It creates this incredible tension between protection and privacy.
How so?
Well, to verify age reliably, these platforms might need to collect far more personal information, which is a huge privacy concern. And mental health experts are worried about cutting off support channels for vulnerable kids who use anonymous accounts to get help.
So the solution for safety might create new problems. That's a truly difficult line to walk.
It really is.
Speaking of high stakes, we have to turn to Hollywood. The battle for content dominance is reaching a fever pitch with the potential takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, a company struggling under significant debt, but which also owns some of the most valuable franchises in the world.
So bid number one came from Netflix.
Right. An agreement to acquire WBD's studio and streaming businesses. That's the DC Universe, HBO, Harry Potter, all of it. Valued at about $82.7 billion.
A massive vertical integration move. But then,
But then Paramount Skydance jumped in with an unsolicited, all-cash, $108.4 billion bid for the entire WBD company.
so this isn't just about streaming revenue.
No, the winner controls the global licensing and creative direction for one of Hollywood's most valuable libraries. And here's where it gets really interesting for the average person: the theme park angle
The wizarding world of Harry Potter.
and the DC Comics characters. These licenses generate billions, and they're currently contracted out. A change in ownership means the winner can immediately challenge or renegotiate those deals, which could fundamentally reshape where you go to visit Hogsmeade.
It's amazing how much of the future economy hinges on these core media libraries. Okay, let's pivot now to global events. We have some devastating updates, particularly from Southeast Asia.
The scale of the catastrophe across Indonesia, in Aceh, North Sumatra, and West Sumatra is just immense after the flooding.
The statistics are just grim. At least 961 killed, 293 still missing, over 570,000 displaced.
And the sources highlight this grim reality beyond the flooding itself. There are reports of people dying from starvation, not just drowning, because supply lines have totally collapsed.
And with contaminated wells, survivors are being forced to boil floodwater just to drink. It's a crisis layered on a crisis.
And the environmental toll. It's just devastating for one of the world's most endangered species.
The Tapanuli orangutan.
Scientists warned this was an extinction-level disturbance for them. There are fewer than 800 left in the entire world. They were only classified as a distinct species in 2017.
And the source material estimated that up to 35 of them, 4% of the total population, may have been wiped out.
And this crisis actually forced an unprecedented admission from the Indonesian government. They acknowledged that industrial plantations, hydropower, gold mining, they all contributed to the environmental pressure that made this disaster so bad.
So they've suspended operating permits pending a review.
A major signal that a real environmental reckoning may have finally begun.
Moving to another part of Asia, we have an update on a major earthquake off the coast of Japan.
That's right, a powerful 7.5 magnitude quake off the coast of Aomori and Hokkaido prefectures. At least 30 injuries and one major residential fire confirmed.
And it triggered immediate tsunami warnings, leading to the evacuation of about 90,000 coastal residents.
The waves were thankfully contained to about 70 centimeters, but the Japan Meteorological Agency is still warning that the risk of another large quake in that area is worryingly high.
Okay, before we move to sports, let's briefly touch on Nature Magazine's Nature's 10 for 2025 list. It's always a fascinating snapshot.
It is. The list included the Chinese financier Liang Wenfeng, who disrupted AI with that free, open-weight DeepSeek model.
Bringing advanced AI to anyone. And the deep-sea explorer Meng Du,
who discovered those strange new ecosystems 9,000 meters down. And on the integrity front, the list included CDC Director Susan Menares, who was fired after refusing to compromise scientific integrity under intense political pressure.
Which speaks volumes about the challenges leaders in public health are facing. Okay, let's transition to the world of cultural and sporting records. We have some truly historic runs happening.
Oh, yeah. The Oklahoma City Thunder are putting together a season for the ages in the NBA.
They started 24-1. That ties the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors for the best 25-game start ever.
And it's not just the wins, it's the dominance. They are beating opponents by an average of 17.4 points a game. It's utter destruction. They're on pace to challenge that 73-9 record.
Over in Formula One, a dramatic conclusion to the season.
Lando Norris captured his first world championship, beating Max Verstappen by just 2 points in the final race.
And that secures McLaren's first constructors' title since 1998. It returns one of the great racing dynasties to the top.
And on the flip side, Lewis Hamilton, a challenging debut season at Ferrari, finished 6th. Not a single podium finish all year.
A stark illustration of how hard it is to maintain dominance. And shifting to soccer, we have Messi and Ronaldo securing their futures.
Both signed extensions. Messi with Inter Miami through 2028, Ronaldo with Al Nassr until 2027 when he'll be 40.
Which basically confirms that the 2026 World Cup will be the final international tournament for both men.
And that scarcity is driving an outrageous situation for fans.
The ticket prices. The cheapest final ticket is over $4,185.
Premium seats are at $8,680. That's over 5 times the cost from the 2022 World Cup.
Football supporters Europe called it a monumental betrayal, Yet
FIFA received 5 million ticket requests in the first 24 hours. The demand is just off the charts.
It's the cost of seeing the end of an era. Before we wrap, a few interesting cultural and financial notes. On the literary front, Kiran Desai's novel The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny appeared on all three major year-end lists.
A true cross-market success. And a great piece of art history, that modern, plump, red and white image of Santa Claus was really cemented by Coca-Cola's advertising between 1931 and 1964.
To boost winter sales, a classic piece of IP control.
It is. And speaking of IP, the original Tom Jung painting for the Star Wars movie poster sold for $3.875 million at auction. A new record.
And finally, a quick note on finance. Hashkey Holdings, Hong Kong's largest licensed crypto exchange, announced its plan for an IPO.
Which will be a huge test of Hong Kong's ambition to become Asia's regulated crypto hub.
That covers an incredible amount of ground.
You know, if there's one synthesis point to take away from all this, it's that shift from theoretical potential to real-world deployment. The battles now are over application control like ByteDance versus Tencent,
Right.
physical resource access with the H200 chips and IP dominance with the WBD battle. These execution battles are defining the new economy.
And that brings us right back to that Cinderella's glass slipper effect. If utility really is the ultimate metric, and AI becomes defined by the few models that solve high-value problems perfectly, how does that change how we value and regulate technology? Does it mean the age of the generalized large language model is already over, shifting the focus entirely to hyper-specific agents?
That's some view them all over.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.